Good morning, Kip One Primary. This is Mr. Jennings, and this is the start of our class this week. We're going to be celebrating Black History Month. Does anyone know the new month that we just entered? February. If you said February, give yourself a pat on the back. Very good. We're in February. We celebrate Black history and our race and our ethnicity and our heritage every day. But Black History Month is a month that is set aside for the entire world where we make sure that we are being informative and also learning about Black history. And you want to do these things every day. Black History Month is a month that we know encompasses a lot of things that goes around Black history. These are our hope values. Remember, our hope values are honor, optimism, perseverance, enthusiasm, and love. I'll say those things again: honor, optimism, perseverance, enthusiasm, and love. Last month in January, we were talking about love. This month, we have a new value that we're going to look at. First, we're going to talk about what is hope. Hope stands for honor, optimism, perseverance, enthusiasm, and love. This month's value is honor. Everybody say honor. Everybody say honor. Honor, very good. Honor means doing the right thing even when no one is looking. When we talk about honor, we also talk about telling the truth even when you know the consequences. We've all been in trouble before. We've all had consequences before. But telling the truth even when you know the consequences is showing honor, because that's showing that you have integrity and that you are okay with the consequences. Well, not even. Telling the truth even when no telling the truth even when you know the consequences, because sometimes we do the wrong thing and you have to get consequences for those things. So you might be thinking, how can you show honor? So I have 4 things that you can do to show honor. Obviously, there are other things that you can do, but these are just 4 small steps that we're going to be talking about this week. We'll talk about different things next week of ways that we can show honor. You can show honor by leaving spaces better or cleaner than you found them. So like cleaning your house or cleaning your room, making sure that things are cleaner than when you first got there. That's a way that we can show honor. You can also show honor by respecting or being gentle with school materials. So like your tablet or your learning kits, being respectful, being gentle with those things, and even making sure that you clean those things up are ways that you can show honor. We will always show honesty by telling the truth, even in difficult situations. So we talked about times when you know you're going to get in a consequence, or you know that your actions will be frowned upon. You know that your parents, your grandparents didn't like what you did. So you know that there are going to be some consequences behind it. But when you show honor, you still tell the truth, even though you know that you're going to be in trouble. You also can show honesty by leading by example, even when others are not. So even when others are doing the wrong thing, showing honor means that you're still doing the right thing. We talked about the new month that we're in. We are in February and it is Black History Month. This is a time where we are over celebrating people in history who were Black, who did things for us that we see and things that we don't see. Learning objectives. Kids will be able to learn about Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Kids will also be able to make connections from the past and apply them to the present. Hipsters will be able to understand identity is dynamic, complex, and personal, and it affects both how we see ourselves and how we interact with others. Vocabulary. This is the vocabulary that we're going to be looking at for this lesson. The first word is racism. Everybody say racism. Inequality. Everybody say inequality. Everybody say equality. Finally, everybody say segregation. So let's talk about what these words mean. The first word is racism. Racism is when a person treats you worse based on the color of your skin, so what you look like. Inequality. Inequality means not fair or unfair. Everybody say not fair or unfair. That's what inequality means. Equality means fair. Equality means fair. Equality is good. Inequality is bad. And finally, let's everybody say segregation. In the context of this lesson, when we're talking about segregation, we're going to be talking about Blacks on one end and whites on the other. So basically, segregation during these times meant that Blacks were treated one way, whites were treated another. And that will be what we use in this context of this lesson as the word segregation. So you'll hear these words as we go on the lesson and throughout the month. But for now, this is going to be our vocabulary, and we'll learn as we go. This is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was the embodiment of honor. Honor is our value this month. And so that means that he was always doing the right thing, even when no one was looking. He was doing the right thing, even if he had to get in trouble for it. He always told the truth and he was as honest as possible. A hero is born. This is Martin Luther King Jr.'s home. This is this is Martin. This is Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s home. This is him as he is in an adult, when he was an adult, and this is him when he was a young kid. A hero is born. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia in 1929. At the time in that part of the country, segregation or the separation of races in places like schools, buses, and restaurants was the law. I want to pause there. So restaurants, schools, buses, and other places was segregated, which means that whites were in one place and blacks in the other. We weren't able back in this time to be in the same restaurant as a person who was white, or be on the front of the bus with people who were white wanted to sit down, or schools like our school there wouldn't be anybody who could be white or in our school. Everyone would have to be black, and then they would have their own school where people were white. He experienced racial prejudice from the time he was very young, which inspired him to dedicate his life to achieving equality. Remember, equality is good. He wanted equal and justice for Americans of all colors. King believed that peaceful refusal to obey unjust law was the best way to bring about social change. So Martin Luther King Jr., he wanted peace. He didn't like fighting or violence. He wanted peaceful things to happen. So he didn't try to attack the police officers. He didn't try to attack people who were doing him wrong. He always believed in peace and using his voice as his biggest weapon against inequality, which is bad. He used his voice to fight inequality. Ideals of MLK, which is Martin Luther King. He wanted to show love, not hate. He never wanted people to be hateful. He always wanted them to show love. So we talked about in school and even months ago that we can use our light to fight darkness. Think of a real dark room, right? If it's real dark in the room, what do you need in that real dark room? Light. Same thing. So instead of fighting evil with evil, we would fight evil with love. He also believed in turning the other cheek. He believed freedom and equality. Equality is good. He wanted freedom and equality. He wanted our people to be free, and he also wanted them to be equal. Non-violence. So he never wanted to be violent. He wanted to fight violence or hate with love. And he also used peaceful protests like marching and boycotts and sit-ins to fight inequality, which is bad. He used his greatest weapon, which was his voice, to fight unjust law. He used his voice. Our biggest weapons, even today, are our voices, not our fists, not our hands, not weapons, but our voices. Our voices become our weapons. What we say can be weaponized. In other words, your superpower is your weapon. Sorry, your superpower is your voice, which is also your weapon. Marching forward. King and his wife, Coretta Scott King, led demonstrators on the fourth day of a historic 5-day march in 1965, starting in Selma, Alabama, where local African Americans had been campaigning for the right to vote. King led thousands of nonviolent demonstrators 54 miles to the state capital of Montgomery. So during this time, African Americans couldn't vote. They were given like really hard things that they didn't know the answers to, that no one knows the answer to. They had to do different things that stopped them from voting. But Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was one of the superheroes who helped us be able to vote in today's election. So just like we were able to vote for our new president, Joe Biden, which is not that long, a lot of your grandparents or great grandparents were a part of this when they weren't able to vote. But now we have that right to vote because the superhero, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., led one of these marches. He had other superheroes with him as well, like the people in the background. Martin Luther King Jr. was the face, but all of these people were the superheroes fighting for equality. Inspiring others. King waved to supporters from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. during the March on Washington. There he delivered the big I Have a Dream speech, which boosted public support for civil rights. So the I Have a Dream speech is a large speech that a lot of us have heard and a lot of us may not have heard that we're going to get a chance to hear today. The I Have a Dream speech told you what Martin Luther King Jr. wanted to see for the future because they didn't see those things. And right now, we came even closer to making all of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dreams come true. We're not quite there yet, but we're super close. Let's see what Dr. Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech was all about.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted. Every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring, and when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Remember, you can send any work to cjennings@kipchicago.org. I had a lot of videos this week from different people who were able to get different gifts from Mr. Jennings and be able to spend some money at Target. This week, you can do the same. You can send a video or write something that you want to change in your home, community, or world. I'll say that again. You're going to send a video or write something that you want to change in your home, community, or world. And you will say this or write, I have a dream that blank. For example, if I was thinking about my home, I would say, I have a dream that I would, or everyone would clean my house every day. Or in our community, you can say, I have a dream that everyone stayed safe and protected each other. In the world, you can say, I have a dream that everyone is treated fairly, just like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Wanted it to be and how I want it to be. These are just examples. You can use anything. It can be small, big. Just tell me, what do you have a dream about? And I'll see you guys next week and see what were your dreams.